G'day, doggies fans, all things Bulldogs. It's episode 31, although I said episode 30 again. Losing my mind. And we've got a lot to talk about today, so I'll wait for a few of you to come on. G'day, Snopsa. Hello, Elaine. Good to see you. And some nice weather. That's good in Sydney. It's been getting hot here in Brizzy. I don't even know why I've got a jumper on, but it's my Bulldogs jumper. And g'day, Joby. Good to see you again, mate. Oh, g'day, Brian. We're going to go good today, Brian, aren't we? Anyway, so what we're going to do tonight, I'll do a quick review of Melbourne Storm. Sorry I didn't get that out earlier. I've been a bit crook. Just taking some buttermint-fold. Got me bubbly water. I know it looks like a UDL, but I promise it's not. G'day, Bilal. Welcome. G'day, Mughus. I'm in Brizzy, Brian. Always in Brizzy. G'day, Sayed. Yeah, very pissed at the Panthers, so I'll give you my talk on that. I've already put out a few articles about it, and I've actually put it out to look, I know someone does some articles for a media organisation. I haven't got one free yet, but they might put this one in. We'll see. Look, and what the Panthers have done and the Bulldogs' mindset in this whole thing shouldn't change. Like the Dogs, there's no excuses. There's no excuses for our Dogs. But when you break down the art of war and psychology, Ivan Cleary's just put it out there. And the Dogs need to respond in the right way. Up the mighty Bulldogs. Oh, good on you, Brian. I love to see it, mate. Because we did lose one of our faithful people this week. You know, they'd had enough of me trying to give a view of positivity and patience and understanding and extra context. Always after a loss, and then made it really personal, which I've done. Look, I wouldn't care if Brian got personal with me because I've been personal with him. You know what I mean? But one of our people actually got personal on me. Someone who said they wanted to catch up and meet and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, really sad how they went about their business in attacking me personally and how I should do this. But anyway, welcome, Gasson. You still in China, brother? Gasson got to meet Jason Williams at the he was at the airport or the train station. I can't remember now. In China, of all places. Jason Williams from 1995. New Zealand rep grand final winner. G'day, Tiam. Dogs should have won against Storm. Sad about Hayes. I feel you're underestimating how much or a big loss he is for us. He's been our best forward recently. I don't think anyone's underestimating it too much, my friend. But yeah, let's be positive about some things. But I've got some stuff to talk about with that Storm game. And look, people have made a lot of comments about players like Salmon and our forwards and that. So I've gone and watched just footage of Salmon. You know, I've sort of fast forwarded through and then just watching him in plays in defence. Because, look, I sort of just take it for granted he's doing his role and he's making his tackles for every minute he's out there. He's making good contribution. His line speed's really good. His aggression, trying to drive things back. His talk, you can see him out there running things. But I'm not really worried about hit-ups and all that sort of stuff. But I've just been watching his effort areas and stuff like that. And I think since coming back from injury, there's been a little bit, it hasn't been as good or as quick to warm up in the last 3 games. What you might notice, just, sort of, look, you see Harry Hayes make that run to tackle that player. Now, Harry's faster than Salmon. But you see Harry run, and Salmon wasn't even on the field at that time. But those sort of things are missing. Look, Salmon's always used to be backing up through the middle and doing his supports. Bit of that not there. In the forward pack with King and Hughes, they were a bit better in some ways. They didn't really have much possession at the start of that Melbourne game. And which is that their meters were down, and both sides played it on the edge. Oitikamanu was running sideways and wide a lot of the time, or if he caught it wide, he sort of ran it to the other side off a kick return. There's a few different things they were trying, and we actually played it wide as well. We contributed a lot off the edge, a lot of edge meters, a lot of ball through the hands, and we earned all our meters, whereas the Storm had a lot of defensive resilience because they didn't really have to earn their way upfield at all. Where they got their 12 points, though, is quite significant in this, and something I probably overlooked a little bit in my initial assessment. We Haywood and Galvin got isolated way too much, and it happened a lot in the Roosters game, but there were excuses for that. In this game, it sort of reminded me, it's nowhere near as bad, so it's something they can fix. But in the first, going back to 2023, there was a magic game against Canberra Raiders where their first set, Corey Horsburgh got about 25 to 30 metres post-contact. They got to just inside the halfway, and Fogarty kicks, puts it deep and high into our area. Alamotti drops the ball or doesn't get near it, and they score from the first set of the match. And Reid Marnie got singled out in the line, and then Horsburgh was able to grab hold of Tavita Pangai coming in and just pushed him as well, just pushed both of them for like 20 metres. And I sort of saw some stuff like that with the Storm. So what they were doing, they were getting their back three to run at our small guys in the line because they got that speed. So rather than just hitting it straight into the teeth of our blokes, like there was periods in that second half where they weren't able to do that. Like we just got our game on, and they could hardly make a fucking meter trying to get out of their own end. And they had to play a bit of footy. And then they did that under 12 men, played a bit of footy to the right. That was really poor communication by our team. Probably come down to a bit of, we're behind. We were getting ahead of ourselves. We had the extra man advantage, and they scored that. They nail those sort of things, the Storm. That's why they're so dangerous. And we can't take that out of account. We crossed for 6 tries, scored 3. I felt the halves tried their heart out. Burton a little bit injured early, which someone said, the guy who left us was putting shit on Burton, and making out like I don't. Like I always, what did I say? Burton and the left edge were on the carver against West Tigers for the first half. Like they were in another planet. Kick out Burton, Cherry is like they were in Gaga land for that day. They were asleep. They woke up for the second half, and I think they got a bit of a attack. But Burton hyperextended his fucking knee, and basically he got smashed in the ribs off the ball. That wasn't called. The first tackle of the game when Montoya, we actually had a really good first set in defence. That was probably our best defensive set of that half, to be honest. And then we got the ball back. Montoya's first run back just was fantastic. He launched that hip in. The tacklers felt that contact. He tested himself out and got through with flying colours. Really happy with his game against the Storm. He did really well. And then we had a scenario where Matt Burton was, there was a bit of, can you move out of the way? And then they're shoving him in to play the ball, and the ref just left it. And we nearly lost possession. And it sort of put us behind from that point on. And we struggled to make meters after that because of that second play. We didn't get the ball. Now, getting pushed out of the ruck a little bit when you're all over a player is quite normal. For them to get up and push him back and stop him from picking up the ball at marker should have been a penalty every day of the week. And that was ridiculous. And that just got it off to a shit start for us. But yeah, what happened after that is they were able to successfully, we saw Tikamanu took a hit up on the left edge. Then he ran wide again and specifically got Galvin, who ran out of the line to meet him, which was great signs from the young fella. Got absolutely smashed off the ball. Kept getting up, ran the ball like 20-something times for 150 metres. A couple of runs, I felt he took a few wrong options, and he set things up well, but then didn't sort of show enough variety at different times, but I felt he asked a lot of questions, and a lot of the good things that happened later in the game definitely attributed to the halves running game, and they had that mentality of just run. They played a game which showed that they can beat Melbourne. I felt Tyrone Wishart was really good in the first half. Burton missed that tackle, obviously, which you can do sometimes, miss a tackle. Cameron Munster misses the first tackle on Crichton. It happens. It doesn't mean we have to rubbish our team for it. Yeah, and look, I was just watching the likes of Salmon, not so much then, but when I've gone and done a real good focus, King and Hughes, I just felt there was a bit of lack of connection. And this also comes down to the individuals as well, new in this position. So, like, Reid Marnie used to get isolated a lot in 2023. It didn't happen hardly at all last year. For long parts of the year, didn't happen. But the Storm had really worked on that, on how that they could break our Swarm defence. And that's how they got a roll on. Grant had one really good play through the game, and that was a run from dummy half, which got him on the right foot. They got down to our end, and Bailey Hayward made that mistake passing out. He got pushed as he was passing it by Munster, which wasn't square, wasn't fucking square. What a load of shit. All day they were holding us down from second marker. There was grapple tackles. There was a lot. And all the fucking journalists can do is focus on Stephen Crichton trying to reef a ball out, and ends up... optics didn't look good. I wouldn't have cared for a fine, whatever. But to even suggest that Harry Grant's shoulder charge, where he could have wrapped because he had no one blocking his arm, he's moving in a forward direction with his shoulder leans in. He wasn't moving laterally. He generated half the force and copped Harry Hayes flush on the chin. Flush on the chin. And Harry gets up. So Harry gets up. He's right. Tough as nails. That didn't hurt me. They send him sin bin him, which is great. But for Buzz Rothfield to sit there and suggest that Crichton's thing was worse than that. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? All right, so that's pretty much the Melbourne review. We won the meters by about 400. As I said, they got piggybacked up the field a lot. So that comes down to our discipline. So when I'm watching it back, I'm sure that the coach isn't too happy with some things. And seeing the team list named today, obviously Kickout's out and Hayes out with injury. Kickout will be back next week against the Sharks. But seeing DSF named on the bench with Tupanua, that means one of our big men are coming out from the patterns that I see. Like, I can't see them running out 3 big men in this game. They just haven't done it all year, and I don't see them starting now. As much as people would love that, it won't happen. It won't happen, in my opinion. If it does, great. They try something. But I would suggest that if King's carrying an injury or if the coach isn't happy, which he may or may not be, but to see DSF in that position, named on the bench, doesn't sit with me. It's not something that they've done or do. And I think that, look, you think that Sam Hughes is going to be dropped, potentially. And you'd think Daniel Saluka-Fafita will start the match. So one of those 2 front rowers will drop out. If he plans to start Hughes and Daniel Saluka-Fafita and give King a run off the bench, that's something that I could entertain, but I can't entertain Hughes or DSF off the bench. I just can't. I think it'll be King and Daniel Saluka-Fafita, and I think Hughes will drop down to 19th man and play in New South Wales Cup in their last game of the season. That's what I think will happen. And if that does happen, Curtis Moran, I think, is the next one in line. I think he will replace him and come on to the bench. And you'll have Tupanua, Mann, Moran, and Marnie as your bench. That's what I expect to happen. But, I think the coach, he don't like losing. He don't like losing at all. He hates it. And if he saw what I saw, if he's seeing what I sort of went back to with that post-contact issue, and that's something that has gotten a little bit worse for us in recent weeks, where we've made less and conceded a lot more. And I talked about it before Galvin joined the team, that when you got less physicality in your side, you're going to get more post-contact meters. When you've got new players coming in, connection's not as good, you're going to get post-contact meters. It's just the way it is. And if they're not doing that, if they're physical enough, you're going to have some misreads and concede some line breaks and stuff. So, look, I feel we've done well with the line breaks. We made 10 line breaks to their 3 in that match, right? So, people could sit there and say that the halves didn't manage the game well enough to win it. But to see we were over that try line 6 times, dropped the ball a few times. Stephen Crichton at the end being pushed off the ball. Look, if that was the Storm doing that, and that was us coming in to sort of stop it, and then he plants it the way he plants it, with the rules, I sort of go, I'd feel we were harsh done by. However, if they'd called the penalty, I'd be like, oh, that's so soft. But yeah, he's got his hands on him. He's touching him. And he was technically had jumped and was just off the ground, Crichton, when he first touched the ball. And Seve was there sort of not trying to actually catch the footy. So if we got a penalty, I would have been happy with it. To me, it would have been a 50-50. But for the try to be scored, all I can say is that he's got such a big hand, and just before it hits the ground, his hand sort of got control of, that's a bit weird. Oh, you're in Qatar now, brother. I'll get to the messages soon. We're about 17 minutes behind your messages. I'm going to keep on top of them the best I can. I'm not going to promise to read everyone's, and if you're writing stuff that I don't really want to talk about, we just might not go there. But that's the review. There's so much good in that. I love the way that I love the efforts of Kikau, Montoya. I felt Haywood played really as good as he could. He had that early error. The fact that he got penalised when Munster was instigated all of that stuff that happened. But that's just experience, They've got experience at being grubs, and that's what they are. Yet we get called the grubs. So it's pretty much it there. Harry Hayes is out for 6 weeks, and he might be back earlier. But yeah, they apparently it happened. So the coach thought he was cleared of the knee issue and he was fine. And then when they cooled down later on, he felt a bit of a twitch in his hammy, and they checked it out, and it wasn't good apparently. Oh, thanks, Brian. What do you think of Critter tackle on Paps? Do you think he's protecting, gets away, or do you think that's just the media? I think that he's not protected at all. Look, everything that I've seen in context has been fair enough. Mitigating circumstances is the best thing that the NRL has brought in. But they also brought in stuff so that if media jump up and down loud enough and make something that has bad optics a big deal, they can go in and force the match review committee to name something later, which is exactly what happened. And it's cost Crichton $1,000, right? And I think that's bullshit as well. And if they have the ability to say, hey, you need to do this, they should also have the ability to take it away as well, in my opinion. Why stop there? If you can throw it in, take it away. I felt that it was an accident. He was being aggressive. If I'm playing for the Storm and I see that, it's firing me up. I'm like, you fucking grub. But I don't think he was protected at all, because he caused no harm to him. He didn't eye gouge him. He didn't scratch him. His hand just like that. You feel it. You know it's happened. It's probably strong. There's pressure there, but Liero had his arms grappled around Burton's head on a few occasions. It's happening all the time, grabbing his headgear and doing all that sort of shit. And the rub, like, that's the thing. Buzz sits there and says the head pat was the worst penalty he's ever seen. It wasn't just a head pat. It was a shove. It's a shove motion on his head, right? Which you can get from your old man or your grandpa or whatever. Oh, you bloody idiot. Or good on you, champ. They do it firmly, but whatever. Don't do it. If Reid Marnie did that, he would have been penalised. No doubt he would have been penalised. If we had done it, they would have penalised us. So play on. Storm and the Grubs, they've been allowed to do their stuff for years, and people that call them out get lambasted. And, that was one thing at least Paul Kent did, was call out the Melbourne Storm a lot. And that's one thing I liked about him. But because it's just obvious, they invented everything. They invent everything that's happened. They're the masters of it. And for some, but also, there's none better at getting the best out of average. And he's a great coach. But yeah, they're competitive. They find people that want to win and win at any cost. And that's why they're so good. I don't believe he's overrated. I just don't think his role's different, Brian. Look, we don't have Isaiah O'Brien. We don't have Cameron Murray. If we did, if we have a player developing into that role, we won't play Kurt Mann and Jamin Salmon in that role. We will just play one player and rotate a different way. So that's just where we're at. We just don't have a player who can pass like he can. Yeah. So, look, there was a lot of talk about Lachlan Galvin again. And one other stat with him is that there's a whole heap of stats there which are split in half for Lachlan Galvin between the Tigers and the Bulldogs. And he's actually second in the league for line engagements behind Isaiah Gatoa. So he takes it to the fucking line. He engages that line, brings the attackers in. Now, that's something the Dogs have struggled with. We've been getting better at it, Kurt Mann, and we share it amongst a lot of players. But he's getting his hands on the ball and practicing, taking it to that line. And as he gets better and gets bigger and more physical, you're going to see a player there. You're going to see a real good player because he's doing the stuff now while he's still a skinny bloody string bean that other players twice as big as that don't want to do. So yeah, he's going all right. He's going pretty good. He's done over 150, 160 lining game. Maybe it's 190. He's about 40 or 50 behind Isaiah Katoa, who's way out in front. Good evening, Timmy. Welcome. G'day, Knox. I'm glad you're going to the game, Timmy. Welcome, Scary. And thank you so much. What's everyone's thoughts on the critter try being disallowed? I've covered that. Should Burton be rested? I just don't think this coach is into resting people. We might see it on Sunday, but yeah, I don't think he's going to do that. I thought it might have happened by now. He just hasn't rotated or rested people. He's brought people in if they're the best 17, and he's got his team that he thinks is the best side for the best balance, and then he interchanges the players next in line. And that's changed from the start of the season to where we are now. So he's going quite well. G'day, Timmy. Right, we're catching up. I mean, never been so happy to lose, so proud of the performance, and we should have won. Great call, Amir. Yeah, I was very, very happy with the fact that we, after that start, which worried me, there was some signs there we need to overcome, right? We can't be letting our hooker and our 7 get isolated in defence that much. And we've got to be more disciplined. We're just giving away too many penalties. And if you allow teams to march upfield and then put pressure on you, they just do that while they're fresh, which means they're fresher in attack. You know, we see Pappenhausen score that try where he burns Galvin and Critter. You know, that's Pappenhausen. He's done that so many bloody times, and they had enough weight of possession for it to happen. You know, that's just where they're good. And they had that energy to keep defending, and you've got to give them credit for their defensive efforts. But they got away with so much in the ruck. It's just criminal. And it went both ways a little bit, but they definitely got the rub of the green in the ruck for 100%. They did, and they usually do. And against the Panthers is where they struggle. But I've lost all respect for the Panthers. I just thought, whilst it's one of the most cunning, strategic, smart moves that you can pull, the fact that it's going to just take away from people aren't going to watch it that were definitely looking forward to it, like neutral fans. There's people that aren't going to go to the game because they just expect they're going to win. But it also just puts all the pressure on the Bulldogs. Now, I know the Bulldogs need to have the right mindset and just go and get it done. Like, there's no excuse. But it's easier said than done. Preparing for Nathan Cleary versus preparing for Brad Schneider. Preparing, you know, for Liam Martin and Moses Leota and Sorensen and Isaiah Yeo and fucking all these players. Brian Toto. What do we got? Now, they're too young. They're two wingers. The McLean brother and the other fella, Fianu or something, he's an absolute star in the making. Like, he to me just looks like another Stephen Crichton. We'll see. Obviously got Dane Laurie, who'll be everywhere. And if you rest on these players, you're in trouble, big time. I think there'll be Summerton and all these players. Bloody, what's his face? Sonny Luke's been named in the squad as well, which is interesting. And as I said, Sonny Luke, I've talked a lot about him, was Player of the Year in Serrato's team that included Cleary, Luai, Leota, Fisher Harris, Corey Hawiranira, and so on. Braden Burns has honestly been playing brilliant rugby league for the Cowboys. I like Braden, I always have, just very injury prone. Sick of people saying Storm played only 30 minutes ago and that's all they need to beat the Bulldogs. People genuinely think Melbourne didn't try against. Mate, we absolutely defended our asses off in that second half. We played our game. They couldn't escape. And they did for a moment, and that's how talented they are. Like, they don't win that game without trying. They gave it their absolute everything to win that game, and they had to. But we crossed the line 6 times. Like, Bellamy would be going, he'd be like, fuck. He'd be thinking, I hope Jerome Hughes is ready for round 1 of the finals if we have to play them. Now, we're going to go out and win this game and hopefully beat the Sharks. And I want to go to Melbourne again. Win or lose, whatever. I'm worried about the Broncos. I think they're going to be very hard to beat. And they'll be loving what they're seeing in this competition. They just got to calm down. But at the same time, when you really look at it, Raiders, Storm, Bulldogs, Panthers are the benchmark by a long way. Warriors are probably next in line. And but teams like the Roosters and look, the Roosters against the Parramatta Eels, that's what happens in rugby league. You go play Canterbury, they put all they had into it. They outplayed us. I don't give a fuck what people say. We weren't right in our forwards and we weren't good enough in our other players to be able to make up for it. And it's hard to make up for it when Carraz is completely injured and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I think what's happened though with the Cheese and Victor Radley and that, and then you go back to, I remember Tony Adams. I remember he went feral on that video from Tyrell May, looking like he was snorting coke, and all those players in that video. And he actually got threatened with a lawsuit for saying stuff about it. Well, that's what's been assumed. Anyway, but it's just quite funny how they then let go of Terrell May. They couldn't wait to let go of Brandon Smith. The other guy who played for the Bulldogs before he went there, Dr. Clay, he's in the video, and I think there was a couple of others. One of the guys who come from England and went back, one of the Fijian boys, forget his name. I think he was in it, and Spencer Leniu. Yeah, I think may not have anything to do with that video, right? That's just, but when you see that, and Brandon and Cameron and whoever else running around like off their heads when they're at the Melbourne Storm, but yeah, nothing to see here. Oh, it's just some Panadol or something. Cameron running around on the table. Like, look, I don't give a shit. This is what people do in there. People do this stuff everywhere. It's people who shouldn't judge anything, you know. But if you're playing rugby league and you're going to do that shit and get caught for it, expect to be dealt with. Simple. Take accountability, and I don't think they do. Because if they're forced to take accountability then and really copped a significant fine for bringing the game into disrepute, Valentine Holmes with his little baggy thing. Oh, I was just joking. So what? Game into disrepute. You're out for 6 months. You can play New South Wales Cup though. We'll let you give back to the kids and help them. Do some community service, whatever. But no, we're not accepting it. Set a real fucking standard. And then you've got Ezra Mann. Like, we've talked about that enough. G'day, Mr. It's me. Yeah, I must say, I love having DSF there. I do love Sammy Hughes, though. I love Sammy Hughes, but I think he will make way for Daniel Saluka Fafita. From what I'm seeing, I just can't see them playing the three big guys in the pack. Unless they're happy with Hughes has been able to play 40 minutes and they think DSF can play a bit more. But, yeah, I don't think they'll risk that. I think they'll want to keep that mobility. I thought Satili Tupanua played really well last week too. He had a real good crack first up, and hopefully he's still right, because that'll be great as well. But, yeah, Harry Hayes, like those two plays, you just wonder, he makes that tackle. If they cough the ball up, they don't score that try. And then he's running through and he's just, takes on the fullback. I fucking love that. And then does his leg in the process. That made me so sad as well. But just seeing that from him, that's the standard we want in our players. Scary. The one thing gave me the shits was how the Storm gets away with so much and any other team gets penalised for all the same things the Storm have done for years. 100%, mate. He is a clown. If we win against the Panthers, which we really should, we need to rest our entire team against the Sharks. I don't think they will, Tia. I just got a feeling. I think they might debut someone because they think they deserve a debut and drop someone for the game and see how they go. But I don't know. A lot will depend on what happens this week, though, won't it? Macca. Dennis Figo hasn't played a Bulldogs game off the bench since he's arrived. If you learn to read the coach's decisions, like you say, late changes are coming. And there you go, brothers. And look, we had Valerio on here the other week, and he's been saying some stuff as well. Like, he met me at a game at the Broncos game. Actually, he saw me and met me, and he said the dog father's changed how he looks at the game a little bit. And I said, oh, that's good for the ego. But he sees the patterns. Like last week, he's like, Curran's going to come out. Curran or Hayes will be replaced by Satili. Now, Hayes has gone past Curran in the pecking order. Like, some may agree or disagree. Doesn't matter. That's how the coach obviously sees it. For the roles they need them to play at that time, which would have been hard on Josh and hard on some of his supporters and whatever else. But he just knew that was going to be the case because it's just following the patterns of the team. And it's funny, I had an old mate today telling me, because I said if Burton doesn't play and Hayes doesn't play, I expect Curran will come in, and I think Jake Turpin might come in, because I feel that Bailey Hayward will move to 5'8", and Marnie will move to hooker, and Turpin will move to the bench as the extra player. And he's like, "Oh, how could you say Turpin? You're a wanker, rah, 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 rah," which is a lot of people stupidly do. And then today he's going, DSF got in and you were wrong, rah, rah, rah. I'm like, mate, I said, Burton's obviously named to play, so they didn't need to move Hayward, so they don't need to move Marnie, so Turpin doesn't need to go in. He might go in for another player if they drop another player at some point. But, yeah, and DSF's probably obviously going to go in for a Hughes or a King. They're not going to carry – DSF will start. He doesn't come off the bench. He's out there to take the sting. He's not there for impact off the bench. They get that through their mobility. And that's what we've been doing. We play our salmon and our man as one human being, try and get 80 minutes out of those two. And then we get the lift from our intense, fast-running, big striding edge back rower middles in Satilli and Harry Hayes. Similar height, similar weights, and similar effort, and run pretty similar lines. So part of me thought that Tupanua might go onto an edge. He can play right edge. But if Curran's done that a bit more than Satilli this year, they're probably going to keep Curran there. And I'm not sure if Curran goes on the right edge or the left edge. It just depends if they want to keep the combination on that right edge going with Preston, Galvin, and Crichton and Carraz, and keep that humming along, or whether they do what they did against the Sharks, which is put Curran to that right edge and bring Preston onto the left. And that sort of shocked the Sharks a bit, because the previous week against Parramatta, Curran was on the left because Kikau was out, and Preston stayed on the right. And we just didn't have any punch on the left-hand side, it felt. And I felt when Curran played on that right edge against the Sharks, he actually had a lot more punch. So he went pretty well with Critter out there. But whatever they choose, it's going to be what they think's best for the balance of the team to get this job done against this reserve grade side, which is full of kids that, I'm telling you now, if they were in our system, I don't want to hurt anyone, but I think people would understand that there's some players in their system that our club, or any club in the competition, would swap some of their players in their system for. But at the same time, they don't have the depth that they used to as far as NRL ready players, which is why they had to put their season under threat this year, because they had no option but to blood players on the run, and they've done a really good job of it, and they should be congratulated for that. And they've earned the right to make a decision like they've done. I just think the NRL shouldn't have allowed it. And the very fact that the headlines make it look like the Bulldogs have done something wrong with the way the headline reads to me. The Bulldogs clash, they call it. And they've put all their players out, and all of a sudden the odds go bang, bang, bang before Team List Tuesday. Like, somebody's got some big bets on the Dogs at big money before they realised. And, great work by Cleary as far as, psychology and all that. But as far as our club goes, and the fact that there'll be less turnover for the club, less intensity in the crowd, it won't be as loud, it won't look as good on TV, all this sort of stuff. Hard enough on a Thursday. Don't expect Penrith fans to go out in big numbers. It's just a smart thing to do. We're going to send a reserve grade side there against a smaller crowd, against a side that was expecting to play a team they haven't beaten in a very, very long time, that they probably let slip last time. They'll know how keen we were to play this match against them. And the Dogs have got to get their mindset right to go out there against that Panthers side of reserve graders which I'll get the team lists and everything up in a moment, and absolutely tear them to shreds. We need our Bulldogs. Well, look, we only have to get the 2 points, and it doesn't matter what the media says, but that noise that they're going to put onto our team with everything else, like, oh, they didn't win by much. That, oh yeah, they just sort of did what they did. You know, they won't give any credit to us, and they'll basically downplay that Panthers side, which, you know, most people will. Like, it's a normal thing to do. I don't dispute that. But trust me, that Panthers team's going there expecting to beat us. That's their expectation. Don't you think about that? Wouldn't matter what's been said by Ivan in the media or anything like that. Behind closed doors, they will be expecting to win. If they lose, they're not going to be, you know, oh, well, we did our best. Like, they'll be assessed like everyone else, review their games, own and account their accountability to what they did right and did wrong, just like we do. You know, you don't have to tell a player their shit. If they haven't followed the game plan, haven't met their KPIs on the game, haven't stood up for their mates enough, they know it more than anyone. And the players that don't know or aren't accountable don't stick in the team for too long and don't get a go. And that's what happens in juniors too. You know, like, players that don't progress, it's because they don't understand their accountability to their role and executing the requirements of their role and what they've got to do. But sometimes it's not always their fault. There's communication and all that sort of stuff. So definitely agree DSF to start with. Hughes likely to make way. Yes. G'day, D. Do you subscribe to the theory that Bulldogs not resting players is the best way to go? I like that theory. And while you're at it, people, like and subscribe. There you go. Have you subscribed to the channel? If you have, thank you very much. And do you like this theory? Do we subscribe to it? Not resting players is the best way to go. I don't know. If it depends what it depends what the coach is trying to build. And if it's just this resilience beyond anything else, there's some real hard taskmasters out there in the NRL. Madge Maguire, Todd Payton. I've heard some terrible things about him, like what he expects. But then you see a player like Tom did, and you go, you know, Tom wasn't all that when he went there. It was inside him, obviously, but he's all that now. So the coach has to be given credit for that. So every time a try scored by the opposition, Tom Dearden is in the frame. Now, he could take that one way, that he's always missing the tackles, but no, he's always trying to cover to stop players from scoring. And if ever they've saved a try, it's usually involved him somewhere. So, and he misses tackles and shit. They all do. They're only little guys, but yeah, looking at, I've sort of gone off your question a bit, which I can do, but looking at, is resting players the best way to go? I think it just all depends on the scenario, man. You know, if we're sitting on top of the ladder and he can afford to do that, I just don't think I don't think he'd be happy with where our club is. I don't think he thinks we're near where we need to be. And that might be hard for some fans to take, and people will put it back on the Sexton Galvin thing again and say whatever they got to say, but I don't think he gives two shits, to be honest. This is the way it is. This is what we've got to do. These are the expectations we've got to hit every single day. And while he's at it, he's managing these individuals, and he's got people, he's got his assistants in play. They're all managing their mindset and making sure they're all okay and taking care of them and all that sort of stuff. But as far as giving them a rest, you don't win by resting. Am I doing it, though? If you're asking me, I'm probably resting some guys on the way through and and rotating them through and and getting them to the finish line that way. But who's to say that's the right thing or not? I don't know. Timmy, do you think Burton will be right to play? I was sceptical, but maybe or maybe not. Not sure, my friend. Not sure at all. No idea. But if he doesn't play, Sexton comes in, or we can have a full shuffle, or Sexton can come into the bench. Marnie can go to 9. Hayward can go to 6, or Turpin can go to the bench, or go to hooker. Marnie can stay on the bench. Hayward can go to 6. Or Turpin goes to the bench, Marnie to 9, Bailey to 6. Any of those sort of things can happen if Burton doesn't play, but I think he'll play. And if he's right to play, he'll play. No, he doesn't, Timmy. Still not sure about Reid Marnie on the bench. He's the kind of player that needs to start or not play at all. If he doesn't play, we can carry another forward. Yeah, Gab, but they're only going to carry another. I get your point, mate. And look, to me, the club knows Reid Marnie's the best hooker in the club. They know that. When he goes on, and if Bailey's going to stay on, Bailey moves to 13, which Reid could do as well. He can do that. But he goes to 9 because he's the best 9 in the club. But there's standards that they've set around values. When you've got his brother going around saying shit on social media and having to take it down for a lot of the season, he's got a couple of mates who have sort of basically outed him. A couple of mates that are dog supporters that he didn't know about, apparently. But anyway, he's because he was doing it on some dogs' pages and then stopped doing that and then just started doing it on his own, and it's a private page. And, that means that there's been some shit talk going on, and we don't need that shit talk. So Reid's moving on to the Cowboys. He wants to leave with a premiership ring. He's probably a bit dirty that he couldn't sort out his future here initially. But it's all happened, and he's just going to do what he does. Now, in regards to what you're saying, I think he is better off starting for us. But that doesn't mean the coach is doing the wrong thing either. And I don't know more than any coach out there. They're all better than us. They all know. They know what they're seeing inside. They know what they're getting from training. They understand it all. And we can think whatever we want, but we don't know more. Not to say that we're not, you can be right as well, that they're not perfect at everything, but until you've got all the data and all the understanding and all the knowledge, it's really hard to make a call on it. But in my gut, I don't disagree. I think he's the best hooker in the club, and I'd be starting him. But if it's a case of, as I always talk about the share market, we've got this new product. It's going to make us a shitload more money, but while we launch it, it's going to take the shine off our existing stuff, and that's going to, cause us to have a little dip for a little bit. But if we've got to keep our money invested, stick with it because it's going to take us to the top. And that's the way I see it. Now, people will say, and they rightfully say, yeah, we'll kick him, do this in the preseason. The experience that Galvin and Hayward got last week, you can't buy that against the Storm in Melbourne. You just can't buy it at all. You cannot. And that's just advancing them faster than anything else. It's just been the perfect sort of run for that. They're getting stuff in their losses. Hayward learned that, he's got to be quicker. He's got to get that speed up from his delivery off the ground. Turpin and Marnie are way faster. But he does bring other stuff, and he got that try. Now, people will say it wasn't a try, and rah, 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 but he did it. And he had some good moments with the ball and without. He got picked out in the line a fair bit and realised, I'm getting isolated here. Why is that happening? It takes time with the team. Some of that's on him as well, right? it took Marnie under the Surroundo system a good 12 months to be able to always be in the right position and do things in sync with each other. And there was that synchronicity was dropped out a little bit in that first half, I felt, especially in the game before against the Roosters. So all these things count, and working. It's the thing is, it's so team orientated, and I even say that when people say, "Oh, the wingers are in too far," like I know it looks like that, and sometimes, I guess sometimes the difference between a good winger and a shit one is beyond the confidence and everything else is just picking the right option, which is sometimes random, It's instinct. It's like that's why Crichton's considered the best, because he instinctively gets it right more than most. And it sets him apart. But you get a team that's getting dominated and getting beaten or under sufferance and can't shut that speed down at the ruck, or is not getting any hand from the ref whatsoever, they're going to be found out in the line. And it's the wingers and centres that are going to make the decisions for what the other players do. And the more they've been worked over. So, they're catching the footy at 5 metres out, getting smashed, or they're getting lots of kick return. They made a few breaks even. Then all of a sudden they're under sufferance on their own line. They've just done a heap of work. Centre turns one way, halfback comes out the other way. Wingers doesn't know whether to stay or to go, runs in. They put a kick in behind, just goes dead this time. Oh, shit. Next time they're worried about the kick, they run at them and, they're sliding too far and they score. This is all what the good halves are doing. This is all how they're setting it up bit by bit, piece by piece. Yet all we talk about is who gave the try assist, who fucking did this, who did that. There's never any sort of thought pattern. This is what pisses me off about the ex-players, the Jimmy Smiths, the Matty Johns, the fucking people who know this shit refuse to talk about the step-by-step implications of how to build pressure and score tries. Yeah, they'll keep it cookie cutter. Oh, the halfback turned them around and got repeat set after repeat set. Yeah, and we can identify with that because Steve Mortimer used to, I've said it hundreds of times, 1985 grand final, they changed the rules because of it. You just kept them in there defending on their line for what seemed like an hour. They just had no opportunities to score because of the way we dominated the field position. And Steve Mortimer just had no intention of it, players even competing for the footy. It was like, let them catch it and tackle them, and they have to drop it out again. And then we'll just run it up again. If we can't score, I'll put it up again. So then they rewarded them. If they can catch the footy, they can get a 7-tackle set. All right. I don't know if it was 7 tackles initially, but they just got a 20-metre. No, it wasn't 7 tackles initially. You just got a 20-metre restart. But back in the 80s, it'd be a dropout. You had to catch it and get out of your in goal, or you were caught in goal. So that's sort of stuff they focus on, but they don't focus on where the halves are getting the players to run, how the players are hitting the ground, and then where the next play is happening. Like, there's so much setup going on, and there's so much crafty work of, okay, I'm going to keep playing short. And when they think I'm going to go out the back, I'm going to play short again. If we don't bust them, then we're going to do something else. And we're going to keep that up our sleeve for the next game and the next game. We're not going to do that this week, under no circumstance, unless you got to win the game. Right? There's so much stuff they hold in and hold back. And to get it all right at the right time, just these players, look, that sounds complicated, but it's just a lot of simple rugby league there. I've heard it, I've read it. There's some people that actually really understand the game, that promote it in that way, and they learn how to get that stuff happening and get those understandings happening amongst the players. But these commentators just don't talk about it because it's not sexy enough. Oh, try assist, super coach. You know what I mean? It's all that shit. G'day, JP Oni, Bulldogs fan here in New Zealand. What do you think with Galvin should stay 7 or change 6 and the club needs to start money instead of being in the bench? I think that whatever number they wear doesn't matter to me, bro. He's a 7 at the moment, and they know what's best. But great to see you. Thanks for coming on. And, Marnie will look. I'll just finish off with the Marnie on the bench thing. You need a hooker on the bench, a genuine hooker on the bench. It's important. We wanted it for years. Now, I know Marnie, to me, should start, take the heat out of the game. Hayward comes on, and then he's still there if need be for a replacement or whatever. But they're getting those learnings into Hayward for very good reason. And Marnie off the bench, he can play lock, but he comes on, he's the hooker, right? They're playing him like that last player. They don't need an extra forward unless the game's going to be that difficult that they're like, okay, we need to play this extra forward and just run with the risk of losing a Bailey Hayward at hooker or having a half go down or something. If a half goes down, Bailey can move into the halves, Reid can move into the 9. You know, it's if a winger goes down or a centre goes down or a fullback goes down, Critter can move into fullback or Karaz can. Burton can move into the centres. Someone else can move to wing. Bailey can go into the halves. Reid can go into hooker. You see what I mean? They've just got that cover, and that's why they pick a hooker in State of Origin on the bench so often, right? It's just what they do now. And because we don't have a Cam Murray or an Isaiah Yeo, people are like, put man on. Put him on to start. No. We need man to come on when at that time they bring him on because we're so good then. If he's having to make tackles when the biggest players on the field are at their energetic best, and not one of them, but two of them, plus two massive back rowers running full pelt, he isn't as suited to that. In some games, he has to step up into that role, and we have someone else who comes on and brings the energy, right? And he'll do his role the best he can. But for me, he is absolutely taking advantage of what we do at the start of games. What we need to improve is ensure the start of our games are better, are more disciplined, are more tighter, and don't concede points like we have been. That's what's got to happen. Okay? And I don't put that all on Salmon, but when I went and watched him, I only rated him 4. I rated him a 6 against Manly, against the Warriors, I rated him a 4 against the Roosters and a 5 last week. So, and that's just off the ball shit. Because I watched that. You watch Jacob Preston, he's running support plays all fucking day. Do you know how many last gasp tackles Preston made last week? You know, I had the week before people saying, oh, Preston's no good anymore because he doesn't make he's not scoring tries off line breaks. So he's no good anymore. The amount of one-on-one legs tackles he made to save a line break against the Storm, I think there was 3 or 4. Same with the previous week. He just is relentlessly tough for us and just goes above and beyond and deserves so much praise. And but I'm just not seeing enough of that stuff out of Jamin lately, where it used to be. You go to games earlier in the year, he's making tackles on making big plays, big tackles. Always there in the picture when we're getting on top of teams and stuff like that. He's part of it. But he hasn't been able to influence that will and do that sort of stuff in recent weeks. So let's hope he has a blinder. But I think it's got to do with the injury he had and coming back. It's just setting back, and that can happen. But his communication's still there. I see that talk. I think he's well liked by the group. They trust him out there. It's not that big a deal, but you know we've suffered in that part of the game the last couple of weeks, and those players have got to be accountable to it, and they are. They know. And that coach, he won't just keep picking players, and there's no ego in it. He's picking the best team he thinks will win the match every time. Amir, thought Tilly had a good game, very good game. He's got a boil there, brother. He's got a boil or something like that, a skin infection. I just, people have been talking about boils and shit recently, and I think it was on Matty Johns the other day. They were talking the worst hygiene club or something, the Broncos. They had all these things wrong with them. I know the Panther need a rest, just sad it was against us. Yeah, brother. Cherry really needs to sort out his edge defence. Got stripped with a man down in the bin. Yeah, they were all short, but that was just poor communication across the board. That wasn't isolated to Sherry, brother. But I think they're all accountable. They didn't react well enough, and it cost us big time. G'day, Adrian. Agree with you on the Broncos, mate. He's hoping that they finish 6th and Panthers 7th, so one of them gets knocked out. Yeah, that'd be good. I want the Panthers to beat Brisbane because if I got to play someone, I'd rather play the Panthers. I want to beat them, especially now. If we can't beat them, we can't beat them. That's who we've got to beat. That's who we've got to beat. Brisbane, it's more annoying to me. I fucking hate them. But with what they've done to our club here, stripping us of money. I hope everyone who's here on this thing can spread it around. Let's go and support the Bulldogs club. Pay for if we're members, make sure we turn up. If we can get tickets, if you can get family deals or whatever to make it cheaper, share it around. You guys that are going, share it to all your friends, whatever. Get to the fucking game if you can. I can't. Sorry. I'm working. Got things I'm doing, and I'm in another state, but it's easy for me to tell you guys to do it, but I'd love to see it. Try and get people to go that are thinking about not going. What happened here on this chat before where it was said, come on, please go to the game. Do that. Come. Let's go. Have a great night. Let's celebrate. Let's cheer really loud like it's the best Panthers team there. Really get stuck into our boys. Let them know you're there to fucking cheer them on into the top 4. And see them deal with them the same way. Yeah, he's done pretty well, yeah. They had a good win last week too against Wests. Drew Hutchison was a bit of rocks early, but his passing to and the line running from Logan Spinks, they were just cutting them to shreds. Some of the best stuff I'd seen in a long time in that grade. Woods didn't play that game. Crash drop ball and Hayes are bloody coach killers. Yeah. But look, that's the whole bloody thing, Carraz should have been bundled into touch. And he decided he's getting to that trial and he's going to score. And then it just bobbles out at the last second. And there's been a bit of that with Carraz. Like, I felt he outplayed Coates in that game. Coates didn't get a really good kick to him all night. The first kick that they did for Coates, he deliberately didn't challenge it for Carraz. He wanted to put him into touch. And that was because they wanted to get repeat set and build that pressure and start to win that possession game early. And it worked. But Carraz, fought hard the whole game. He had a much better game. The week before, it wasn't Jacob Carraz out there. It was someone who was trying to be Jacob Carraz. And that comes from when you're injured, you're sick, whatever it is. His into the contact wasn't as good. I'll try and offload when it wasn't on at all. And he's done that before. But it was back to being Jacob Carraz last week. There was no ill effects. He was tough, and he deserved better. Resting against the Sharks is very important if it means we can keep Broncos out of the 4. Yeah, maybe. If Yeah. So that would mean Sharks would beat the would get to the top 4 if they win this week and then win next week. They'll be ahead of Brisbane. Is that right? I can't work it out. Farrah Galvin has heart. He sure does, brother. 100-0, Michael says. I don't want it to be a good game. I want us to smash them. I really do. I want us to make those Penrith kids feel like they're not good enough. That's what I want. I want 100-0. That'll make me feel great. I'll be invested in every play. It's still going to be a false economy, whichever way, and it'll be treated as such. Right? Go out there, set it all up, put them under pressure. But those Panthers kids are not your typical reserve graders. And I'm not just trying to build them up to prepare myself for a loss. It's nothing to do with that. I know how good they are. And so does our club. So does Gus. So does Cameron. They're not, and they know a fair bit about these kids. There'll be a bit of the unknown there. But, I'm expecting those kids to give us fucking hell, to be honest. If not, they might capitulate and be scared at the moment. But we will see. 3 tries to 3. I generally believe the Dogs take a lot of confidence. I think they did too, mate. Kerman was my man. The match was really good. Yeah, I agree too, Marty. It was his best game in ages. And someone else said Kerman in that game, like they talked about his recent form. I felt his recent form has struggled a bit since Origin. But in that game, I felt he was just defensively was back to his best. His timing was there with it all. And I felt his timing with what he did was a lot better as well. And got that line break assist to Harry Hayes, which was perfectly done. Killer man is important to the team. He's the glue in attack and defence. And just look at last year, he got injured at the back end of 24, and we really missed him. 100%, mate. I think if he's playing in that semi, we go ahead and win. Brian, yeah, but look, I'm not going to give you credit for it because you don't like Salmon. You think he's overrated and stuff. So I'm not going to give you credit for it. But I did do that for you. And there's a few other people as well, right? The Salmon hate. I did it for you. I thought, you know what? I haven't actually watched him hard enough because I trust his role in the side. His role isn't, you've got to understand, man's dynamicness, his play is mitigated by starting. You've got to get that. You've got to understand that. Not saying he can't start and can't add to a team and do well, but he's not getting any younger. He's not that big, and the game is tighter at that point. It's tighter, it's more physical, it's faster, and people have the energy to shut people down. So, if he runs a line, I remember against the Roosters where he started, where we ambushed them after we lost to South when we should have won last year, and then played the Roosters in the wet at our core in that, anniversary, the 20-year anniversary for the grand final win over the Roosters. And Taff goes into the right-hand corner, and then the next time we score, that's off Kurt Mann, running a good line. Think he's going out the back. He runs. Burton just sort of sneaks through. It was a set move. Offloads to Burton in the line. He scores under the post. Now, that sort of stuff can evolve and be done. But when you play Origin, all eyes are on you too. Like, people are like, oh, Kurt Mann's good, but he's that good. And he done well for Queensland and Origin. He helped them win. No doubt about it. He contributed massively to their winning that series. And it was great picking him and playing off the bench in that 14 role. So that's the sort of stuff that we have to do as well. We have to understand that it's about roles. And the role he's playing for us at the moment, look, if Salmon gets injured tomorrow or injured, I don't think they would still start. I don't think they would start, man. because of what he offers from off the bench. And he's not tuned to play 80 minutes at the moment. He played more minutes last week, though. He played a lot more minutes. And, you know, they were reluctant to take him off because he was – but we held possession in that second half. And that's another thing. When you've got possession, he can play longer minutes, right? When you don't have possession, he plays less minutes because he's putting so much into his defence. And that's the same for all the forwards. They need to rotate them more and keep the mobile players out there as long as they can and give him a break and bring a Salmon back on because they've been defending. It takes all the gas out of them. Now, when they've got the ball and they're running downhill a bit because they've got all that possession, he has more energy and he's able to do his thing. And it's just what happens. You watch the game, that's what's happening. We want to sit there and say, oh, but if he was starting, we would be better. No, we wouldn't. He would be less effective for us. But if we get some certain injuries and we don't have someone we can trust to come on and do the job, he may have to start in that role to give us the best chance of winning because, you know, we're not going to give someone who's got no experience and not able to hold up that middle at the start of the game. Like Kurt can do it if he has to. It's just not going to be as effective with his defence later when the game starts to open up. He's going to be starting to gas out when other players come on are going to have more energy. So they're going to need to replace him. It's just the way it is. And I wish people would get it through their head. It annoys me. Salmon Preston do the tough stuff. Helps, man, with doing the flashy stuff in attack. When you say he's the best three defenders, he's got a different role in defence, mate. He's not the first impact guy. He comes in second, right? So if you've ever had a fight with more than one person at once, right? And you've got the big guy in front of you, and he's taking all your attention. Kurt Mann's the fucker that's coming from the side that you don't see that's going to cause you the most fucking damage because you're going to be exposed, right? And that's how he defends. He is a fucking sniper. He is an assassin. Or he's the little bloke hiding with the fucking knife or the glass bottle ready to hit you over the head with it. Yeah, and he does get first contact sometimes. Like he's out of the line, no doubt. But so often, someone gets first hit, he gets second hit, and he like punctures them, man. I remember that Broncos game. Go watch the Broncos game and watch Jesse paint a picture. Jesse Arthurs get smashed by. Watch Corey Jensen get smashed by Kurt Mann. And then a couple of minutes later, watch Jesse Arthurs get smashed by Kurt Mann. They don't get up too well at all. So when you say he's one of the top three defenders in the NRL, there's different ways of looking at it. For the role he plays in defence, he's one of the best, yeah, for sure. But there's different defensive things that they do. It's not just tackle or be tackled. Get the ball or don't get the ball. Give me the ball. Let me do the tackle, you know. They've got a system. They're in, they're out, they're in pairs, they're in groups, they're out. Interchange. All right, your marker, I'm here. All right, we go together. We go again. You're up. Fucking hold the line. You know, it's and just hearing about these defensive structures and the technicality with it, like it must be hard on some of the players learning that. But when they learn it, they're like, fuck, it's like they could go back to school and do physics. Is that true? The loser of second versus third plays the winner of sixth or seventh? I'm not sure, mates. I'm not sure, actually. But I can find that out for you. So, NRL ladder predictor. So I've got Raiders finishing first, Broncos 4th, Warriors 5th, Roosters 8th, Sharks 6th, Panthers 7th, Storm 2nd, Bulldogs 3rd. So finals week 1, we beat the Storm, Panthers beat the Sharks, Roosters beat the Warriors, Raiders beat the Broncos. Finals week 2, 4th plays 8th, 2nd plays 7th. So yes, you are right. It would be that if we finish top 3 by winning the last 2 games, Storm lose the last 2 games, which they could, Roosters and Broncos, they could lose those games, man. No Harry Grant there now. They're not as good without Harry. They got Pappy and Munster and Wishart and Peze. Right? Maybe did they bring Garlic in? Do they put Peze and Garlic in a rotation? They put Wishart in a hooker? Like, he'll get the job done. He'll do it. I'd love him. I'd love him at the Bulldogs. If I was going to buy a player, I'd buy him. If you had to buy someone. What a effort player he is. We quietened him down the second half, though. Yeah, so Storm lose those 2 games. We win our 2 games. We finish second, get a home final. They finish third, right? That's what's on the line here. That's why we're going to win this and win the next one. Part of me, wants Roosters to lose and be done with, but maybe backs against the wall, they beat the Storm. They just lost to Para. They beat the Bulldogs. Got a false sense of security from us because we're so shit, as people want to say. So there you go. Have they just put a New South Wales Cup side? I don't understand the logic behind this. I'll tell you what they've done. This is a logic, right? So they get to rest their players. They get to ensure that next week against the Dragons, that they've got a fit team. They've got a team that's confident, fit, not affected by playing the Bulldogs and potentially losing or playing another golden point game, right? They get to go to the Dragons, beat them like they expect to do, and finish in 5th or 6th spot, which guarantees them a home final, right? That's the thinking behind it. To beat the Bulldogs at a core, with their full team named, the Bulldogs fans all come out, the atmosphere's there, the build-up's there, everybody loves it, all eyes are on everyone. The Bulldogs are looking for redemption. They're looking to finally beat this Panthers side, and they know that we will turn up and we will give them a fucking hell of a game. They know that. And they're not scared of losing to us. It's none of that. It's just smart. Because what they get to do is steal that opportunity from us. So we won't get that opportunity. We may not get it again until a grand final or somewhere like that. Or a semi. Or may not get it again. And they also bank on the fact that it might fuck with our heads a little bit. Right? They'll make out like it's not about us, it's about them. But they're smart. They know that the Bulldogs club's going to not make as much money as it would have made. Right? It's all this sort of stuff. It's about winning the war. It's like, well, you got all these ex-Panthers players. Not like they weren't fucking offloading them anyway. They couldn't keep them. They knew they couldn't keep them, or they would have kept them. But yeah, it's just smart. It's smart from their point of view, and it puts all the pressure on us because the Bulldogs, no matter how they go about their business, win by 100, win by 100. Yeah, no, say you should have. Win by 2. Oh, you guys can't even hardly beat a reserve grade Panthers side. Use a shit, Galvin shit. That's what we happen. Reed should be starting. Why is Bailey Hayward in there now? People start turning on Hayward. How come you dropped Sam Hughes for Daniel Saluka for Feeder? All in hindsight. Salmon shit. Why didn't Man start? Sorry, I know people said that, but that's what we hear every loss. Every loss is just, and then we get people who've been coming here and, you know, in Serrato's words, what's he say when you basically, fucking pissing in your pocket when we're winning, but as soon as we start losing, they start attacking you personally because you're standing up for the club and the team, and they just think that you're a shill for the club, and that I got accused of working for the club. I just want the club to stay stable. I just don't want dickheads without much intelligence listening to the media and going in and voting to kick out our board. That's what I don't want. And also respect the parents. And I got accused of doing that wrong the other day too, that I didn't have a backbone because I stood up for the parents of players, like in their families who watch these things and like hearing good stuff about their kids and whatever else, and don't like hearing all the smut. I just put myself in their shoes. If it's my kid, I don't want people dragging their name through the mud like they're some piece of shit, unless they deserve that. Criticism's fine. There's no problem with that. And people can love who they love and hate who they hate. But when it's your own team and your own club, fucking keep it in your pants. But thank you. I agree with you 100%. Let Salmon start, however, give me more time, another 10 to 15 minutes towards the back end of halves. Yeah. I think he can. But when things aren't going well, he runs out of puff, mate, and he has to come off. He's not a better player than me. They play two different roles, but. Thoughts on Curran at second row? How's his edge defence? Well, he played there, buddy. He played there. He's done a fair bit there. And, he's played on that edge plenty of times. He played there in, what is it? For the Warriors, he played a lot of edge. He's played edge coming through the juniors. He played lock. He was a lot heavier when he came to the Bulldogs. He lost a lot of weight over that preseason, which he talked about. And so he's well versed at doing it, and he can defend on an edge, no problem. Obviously more confident with Kickow on the left and Preston on the right, and I probably prefer to have Curran on the right than Preston on the left, because I feel Preston goes well on the left every time he's been there. But if they really want to keep those, knowing that this is only going to be for 1 week, they might just keep Preston where he is and just bring Curran in for this left edge and work on what they're going to do. I just found in that Parramatta game, we just saw no punch on that left edge like we do from Kickow. And if you go watch that Storm game again, we attacked their edges as much as they attacked our edges. And a lot of our runs were through the side of the field. The middle was a lot less utilised than in other games. So, and we got more meters in our forward pack than they got in theirs. And I know Harry had a break for 50 metres, but yeah, he was number one with meters. Timmy, I thought with Kickow out, it would be an opportunity to debut one of the New South Wales Cup players, but they may get a chance in the last round against the Sharks. Yeah, I don't think they're going to rest anyone, Timmy. I just don't. I think there's a chance if they win both games, we can go to second. And they just want to go in with full confidence, no noise. The Sharks don't have Nikora and they don't have Jesse Ramian, and they've lost Cameron McGuinness. So they're weakened, no doubt. Colhoun and that on the edges go really well though, and they're good enough to do a lot. They've got good back three. They go a lot better when Katoa's there. They're starting to hit their form. They're scoring some points, and I wouldn't be writing them off either. So there's be no time to rest. I think they might, if they're going to debut someone, It'll be maybe the Prodigy, might be the Woods off the bench or something. Might drop Marnie and put Woods in. It might do that. You never know. There's lots they can do, and you don't know what injuries could happen this week. It all could be thrown in. I don't think you're going to see Logan Spinks play. I think that's not going to happen. But we'll see how Spinks and Todd and all them go this week, because they'll want to play them long minutes, and if any of those players are going to play NRL, they want to have them fit and fire and ready to go. And maybe they do, for that reason, give a couple a run in the last round, but I doubt it, unless they have to. Storm's got 100-plus points on Canterbury of differential. Yeah, so we would need them to lose potentially 2 games. Right, so we'd have to win 2. If we win 2 and they win 1, they've got the differential on us. But we could get a lot of differential this week. You know, they could get flogged by the Broncos if they take their foot off the pedal. We flog the Panthers, which I'd love to see. 50, 60-0 would be great. Then we go out there and do a number on Sharks. You never know. But if the Storm lose to Roosters this week and then got to play the Bronco, who they've got a great record against Brisbane, they rarely lose that match. And a lot of the time, the Storm will play a reserve grade side, and the Broncos will as well, especially if they're doing well and going into finals. But if it's essential that one of them wins the game, you might find, look, they could lose 2 games. They don't have Harry Grant or Jerome Hughes. That's huge for them. And Roosters have got a good side. I think with what's happened with Radley and that being named, that could affect them. But that might strengthen them as well. You never know. Good. It's a good final series this is going to be. I like all the teams in it as far as their quality. And, you know, when it's close, people sort of look at it and go, oh, it's not, you know. It's like everyone wants a close fucking competition. But as soon as it gets close, it's like the commentators look at it, oh, there's no clear standout. Oh, but they should be going, what a great season. Everyone can win. So hard to gamble on a team winning 2 in a row because it's just so bipolar the way it all goes, you know. No Sam Walker and no Harry Grant. Yeah, that's another one. I forgot about that, Timmy. Plus Bellamy's 600th game as coach against the Roosters. They'll be up for it. Dogs can't let this stuff around with them. Stick to the process and give it to these kids. Let them know what first grade is about. Beautiful comment. And like and subscribe. I got told I should do that more often. Michael, yeah, but for us to come second, we need to win by a lot and Storm to lose by a lot. Yeah, that's right. So they got to lose 2. If they lose 2 games, we win 2 games. We go ahead of them. We go to second. If they win 1, we win 2. We're going to win by a lot. And they're going to lose by a fair bit in 1 game. But who's to say we can't? You know? Who's to say we can't? Wouldn't that be great? Melbourne lose by 50 against the Broncos. And the Bulldogs beat the Sharks by 40 and beat the Panthers by 60. I wonder who would get the best coverage out of that. Would it be the Roosters and the Broncos or the Bulldogs? Got a feeling it'd be the former. The Roosters and the Broncos would get far more, glazing for smashing the Storm than what the Bulldogs are going to get for whatever they do against the Panthers and whatever they do against the Sharks. Thought Tilly would have been a good shout to second row. Yeah, I thought that's a possibility, and it still may happen. But I think the way he's been utilised through the middle, I could see Tilly moving into that edge back row if Kikau moves on. And, yeah, I've got a feeling he will, but that's just a feeling. I have no knowledge whatsoever on that. And I'd love to see I love Kikau. He's one of my favourite players. I just love him. People think that he's a bit soft sometimes, does some stupid things, doesn't, sometimes passes before he runs. Yeah, he has those games. People aren't perfect. Feel as if Curran doesn't bend the line, whereas Sicily does. Yeah, that's true. But as we say, the Curran can get behind a line. He's quite crafty, and I've seen it. I've seen him do it. I've seen him pick up a ball, and he's got more speed than people realise. He does a lot of that tough stuff too, where you see him running and he'll be one side of the field, then he's across the next side of the field to shut shit down. Like, we need that. Harry Hayes has been doing that and got ahead of him. But it's that desperation from Curran that makes him one of the players I really like. And, yeah, but I found that his contact, like, he sort of skips into it. Steve Price used to do a similar thing, to be honest. And then they sort of skip into it, then sort of accelerate through and then keep their legs going. Obviously, Price had muscled up a lot more. But, yeah, Josh isn't that line-bashing player, but they're all optics anyway. Like, that's what I mean. People think if we get an extra forward who can bend the line, we can skittle some players. And we saw that with the Franklin Pelés and that. And it's great to watch, and you get on a roll, and sometimes you get a try, but after 10 minutes, they're gassed. They're gassed after 10 minutes. And then what happens when they're gassed? It's like you want to keep them on to build their minutes up. They knock the ball on in bad off the kickoff, or they make a mistake, or they just can't get to a tackle and have a misread and cost us a try. That's what's happened. To have these extra big players that bend the line. Now, still he's not. He's 6'1" and 101 kilos. He's not big. He's about the same weight as my kids. Some of my kids. But he's fucking aggressive and he's tough. And he's all arms and legs. And I reckon, running into his knees and elbows would absolutely fucking hurt. He's a tough bastard and he runs like it. Tackles like it too. And his aggression at the Bulldogs has been another level from where it was too. And I love that. Love it. So, yeah. But these big boys who bend the line, they can't keep going. They can't play for 35, 40 minutes. And you can't even develop their minutes because they just keep fucking up. Once they get tired, they gas out. That's it. We can't cover that anymore. They have to play long minutes in New South Wales Cup, which puts means that sometimes the team can't do the stuff it wants to do because they're constantly defending. Yeah, it's hard to get the big boys developed these days. And that's why you've got to, we're just seeing more and more athletes. And it'd be nice to get a Payne Haas or a Carrigan or Adam Fanua-Blake, but we don't want to pay $1 million for it or more, or a Tino. You know what I mean? We don't want to do that. We'll leave Jack Underhill deserves a stint. I've been watching him. Like, I love his commitment to defence. I love the way he throws himself at the game, and he just gives it his all. And I love Jack Underhill. He's not ready, or he'd be playing. He hasn't gone above anyone, brother. He hasn't earned his spot, so he doesn't deserve it till he's earned it. But he's coming along nicely, and he's passed people that were ahead of him. And he'll continue to do that. And I think he's on development next year as well. And after that, he's top 30. So they're playing the long game with him. They're building his minutes, building his resilience, having him come off the bench, having him start, doing a whole mixture of managing his minutes. And that's what they're doing in our team as well. They don't rest blokes, but they manage their minutes differently and stuff. Like, there's more than one way to milk a cow, is what they say, isn't it? Storm are 2 games ahead of us, so we need them to lose 2 games to get their point diff down. Oh, are they? Fuck, didn't even realise. There you go. Must have factored thought I Mustn't have factored in last week's points. Sorry about that, guys. 6 Tackles with Gus podcast live at Canterbury Leagues Club from 5 p.m. on Thursday night before the Bulldogs Penrith game. That should have been, you know what I mean? Fuck. And the Panthers aren't even turning up. Well, they will. Those reserve graders will be ready to go. Don't you worry about that. G'day, JS. Welcome. Sad news on Harry Hayes. He's been brilliant this year. He has. And I'm very sad for Harry, one of my favourites. And I can't wait for him to come back. And hopefully he might come back earlier than we think. But part of me also thinks there's no time now to bring a player in. Players that are there got to do the job and do it all the way through now. Let's go. We've got 2 games to win. We've got a final series to play. And fucking take no prisoners. That's it. JP Oni, I'd love for Critter to get busy more with the ball. He was incredible in round 10 against the Raiders second half. Kind of like to see him in the fullback. Well, look, he's been doing that, mate. It's quite funny. In that last try by Carraz, I wanted to talk about this, and I will right now. It was interesting to see Matt Burton come across to the right, and it was called out by Alexander as we sort of scored the try. He's like, oh, Matt Burton's looking real dangerous coming to the right-hand edge. And Galvin's playing left and right, and Burton's coming across to the right, and he gets that ball to Preston. And Preston scored his first ever try against Melbourne in 2023 in a similar spot on the field. He scored many tries like it, to be honest. It was a good ball, and they're just ready for it. They're like, nah, you're not scoring. He got away, quick play the ball. Now, Marnie was a dummy half, and Burton was screaming at him for the ball. Marnie went left back to Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes could hear Burton carrying on because he literally screaming for it. I've watched it plenty over and over and over again. Hughes sort of tries to offload it back because, Marnie's gone back towards the posts instead of keeping it right where we had the overlap. He's gone the wrong way. Hughes has dumped it back. Marnie's jumped on the ball. King's got into dummy half real quick, and Critter's gone into... Burton's gone back to the left then. Critter's gone basically to halfback and told King, give me that fucking ball. King gives him the ball. What he does with Tracy and Carraz, just mesmerised them. Played halfback. Scores a try. Carraz in the corner. And it's 2014 with 8 or 9 minutes left for a big chance. But I just thought it was interesting that Marnie goes the wrong way. And then Hughes was sort of awake enough to fucking dump it back out rather than get tackled where he did. Because if he got tackled where he did, that try doesn't happen. Where Marnie ends up getting tackled, we only had Critter, Tracy standing at centre and Carraz on the wing. So Critter's basically standing at fullback or 5'8" or half, whichever one you want to call it. And just sweet, bro. Try. When we activated Critter in that Raiders game, the reason that happens is because Critter's not activated every game. If he goes out there and he's activated like your little turbo in your car when you want to go onto the highway, go and do it quickly. We activated Critter. We got him early ball and we go bang, 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 bang. And they weren't ready for it. Now, if they're studying that every week, because that's what we're doing every week and relying on every week, we're not going to win. And we're also going to be in a situation when he doesn't play, we're going to suck because players don't play their roles. He just does his role. And sometimes he's not doing his role that good either. He's had injuries like everyone else and he has dips. Doesn't really get talked about. But I just say it because he's human. He's not always going to save the day for us, but because he's got that sleight of hand, but the last 3 weeks, he's got probably 3 or 4 try assists. He's climbing the try assist board because of what he's been doing as the fullback in attack. And he did it again last week. Tracy had some moments, but they swapped around a bit. So he basically just goes, all right, I'm doing it here, give it to me, and we do it. This is how we do it. He's more special than I ever thought. And sometimes that's achieved by not playing all your cards all the time. You know, you keep calling, you keep fucking betting in the poker game. People work you out eventually. You got to fucking know when to hold them, know when to fold them, as they say. Right? I'm not going to start singing. Met up with the gambler, and Braith was there too. Getting crazy now. Oh, here he is. Such an uncomfortable game. Damned if we win, damned if we don't. Damned we don't beat them by this much. How do you feel about it? How you going, Valerio? I just gave you a shout out before because I'm talking about how we caught up and you sort of talking about how you're seeing the game a bit differently in that and seeing the patterns and stuff. So I'm glad you come on tonight, and I want to answer that question because I did a big bloody article on it today, and it was called Cleary. What's it say? I might even read it out to you just to be boring. And I'm trying to get it posted as an immediate article. We'll see how it goes. All for free. You know. It's a couple of people got on and had a big crack at it. You know, and started telling me, the Bulldogs have to just make sure that they win and rah, 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 and they can't have a bad mindset. I'm like, it says all that in the article. What are you talking about? It says, Ivan Cleary strikes the first blow in the art of war. It's billed as one of the clashes of the season. The Bulldogs up against the Panthers, with both sides preparing for the finals footy. Earlier in the year, round 17, the Panthers edged out the Dogs 8-6. Thanks to a Nathan Cleary charge down and penalty goal. That was played at near full strength, and it left the Bulldogs burning for redemption. But Ivan Cleary's changed the script in what can only be described as one of the most calculated art of war strategies we've seen in the modern rugby league game. The Panthers coach is elected to basically rest his entire best 17. It was a psychological play. This move denies Canterbury any chance of a true redemption. If the Bulldogs win, no matter the margin, the critics will place an asterisk next to it. It wasn't the real Penrith. If they don't win by 20, 30 or 40 points, the game will be dismissed as underwhelming. And the Bulldogs would, and if the Bulldogs were to stumble altogether, the fallout would be enormous. Cleary has flipped the pressure entirely onto the Bulldogs. They entered the match knowing their record against current top 8 teams sits at 4-4, and even with victory, they will find little relief from the narrative that questions their ability to beat the very best. The impact on the fans and the impact on the spectacle. This decision also robs the spectacle of its edge. Thursday night crowds are historically lower, but without Penrith stars, the Panthers faithful have little reason to travel. The stands will instead be filled potentially by families of debutantes and the younger players making their rare NRL appearances or debuts, and many of whom may not see first grade again for a long time or ever. So for the Bulldogs, this means lower gate takings and a flat atmosphere. Fans expecting to see an easy win may not turn up in the same numbers, and while broadcasters lose the blockbuster energy they were banking on. The dilemma for us is that the equation is simple. Treat it like a semi-final or risk embarrassment. Take the Panthers lightly, and even this reserve grade side is capable of pulling off an ambush. Penrith's culture and standards mean that every player expects to win no matter the lineup. The Bulldogs must perform for the fans who do show up, bringing intensity, discipline, and the ruthless finishing. From their point of view, the only way to salvage anything from this contest is to punish the young Panthers, knock confidence out of them, and walk away with momentum heading into the finals. While Penrith field a weakened side in round 26, their stars will be fresh and ready for round 27 against the Dragons. A win there will secure 5th or 6th spot, handing the Panthers a home elimination final and setting them up for yet another march towards the grand final. This is Ivan Cleary's masterstroke. He has robbed the Bulldogs of redemption, minimised risk to his stars, and ensured his team are primed for the real battles ahead. In the art of war, the first blow isn't always on the battlefield. Sometimes it's in the mind. So that's what I think about it. It's a masterstroke, but I fucking hate Ivan Cleary and the Panthers for doing it. I think it's absolute gutless thing to do, and I hope the Dogs never forget it and hate them for it. I've always praised the Panthers, Valerio, or Giuseppe, sorry, brother. Always praised them, always, respected them. But this is all I needed to hate them now, and I can't wait. If it takes us another 10 years to beat them, it'll be fucking great when it happens. I don't care. But every time we play the Panthers, I want to see the Dogs in any grade just go absolutely nuts, or it's going to be a shit weekend. Macca, Harry Hayes, The Undertaker. He won't need 6 weeks. There you go. You've heard it here first from Andrew Macca. And I did say that. I said, there's a chance he could be back earlier. I think they're just saying that. The heart of Harry Hayes. Imagine Harry comes back in the grand final and gets a try from Kurt Mann and gets a line break like in the Storm game. Only one can dream. Oh, I love the picture you're painting, my friend. Agree we need to win 13 plus against Penrith on Thursday night. Yeah. 13 plus will be considered a fucking loss unless it's 30 plus, Tinny. It's got to be 30 plus. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. As long as the mindset's right, go out there, work hard. Those Penrith kids might just absolutely fucking play the house down, and you just see how talented that club is. But, yeah, I want our boys to be able to step up, treat them like the bitches that they're going to be. Buzz Rothfield, the flop, 100%. Connor Tracy's been a bit uncomfortable under the high ball lately. Yeah, I mean, I put that down to he had that fucking internal injury, man. And look, I know he dropped some ball in the trial match, and everyone thought, wrote him off like they wrote Blake Taff off at the start of last year because he couldn't catch, apparently. Pretty windy that day, I will say, and he had the sun in his eyes. It affects people. And sometimes the kicks are just really good. But that kick that he sort of, he dropped that footy. And then after that, he dropped the ball. So the nerves got to him. The occasion got to him a little bit. But he fought back hard and he kept going. And I expect to see the best of him this weekend. I really do. I really do. They don't get the same kicking game out of Cole and out of Schneider as they do out of Cleary, obviously. Timmy, I still think Connor Tracy isn't 100% from the injury he's sustained. What are your thoughts? Oh, that's what I basically said. He's just getting back. It'll take him a little while. And when he gets out a bit early, like I've sort of been watching, like the first time they tackled him, they know he's had that sort of internal injury. They smashed him, man. That game against Manly, the way he was into the contact that day was just, I just was like, this guy is at that level now. He's at that level. And getting that injury it's brought him back down a little bit. But that doesn't mean he can't get back to his best. And I think he needs to get to that physicality level in the finals and beyond for us to be able to win the comp or to win a final or reach whatever our destiny is. He's got to be at that level that he was before that injury, or we can't win. That's how important his role is, man. And people want to see Critter at fullback. He's playing it in attack. If he could do it in the whole spectrum of the role, I'm sure he would be there. And maybe he might be able to do that for a game or two in the end, and they might do that. You know, things happen. Sometimes coaches will pull out a master stroke when no one expects it. But we will see. Thinking back to the round 17 game against the Panthers, Connor Tracy was man of the match in that game. Oh, his defence in that game was absolutely phenomenal. Remember that? The try savers on the number 6. 2 of them. That's what I mean. Like, we just didn't give up a try. They had to get a fucking charge down to score. It's bullshit that we lost. Thanks for the shout out. I just got on from uni. Going to re-watch the live from the start tomorrow. Oh, cheers, brother. It's the least experienced side in the premiership. Only 416 NRL games experienced. Should also break another record this game, getting the biggest win in history. 110-0. Mike, I hope you're right. I also wonder if Ivan is going into this game thinking he'll win. I know that's the goal for every game, but the top four side isn't losing to a reserve grade side. Yeah, Mike, well, I've been around. I was around when I watched our reserve grade side. It was only a trial match, by the way, but beat this Penrith side with Viliami, Kikau, and a whole bunch of really good players in it. When Anthony Griffin was coaching them. And, yeah, they had a really shit start to the season, the Panthers, but they ended up doing all right in the end, I think. But it can happen. I know that's a trial game, but I've seen the old baby Broncos, man, you know, where they'd have 11 of their players out. It's not 16, though. Like, that's next level. And they've done similar things in the last round against the Cowboys and stuff. And the Cowboys beat them 54-0, 54-18, shit like that. So that could be one of the outcomes as well, where we smash them big time. I hope so. But, yeah, I've seen the baby Broncos beat teams during Origin where they only had 3 regular first graders in their side. And a bunch of these kids playing, they were called the baby Broncos. And they used to make a habit of ambushing sides that expected to win and, yeah, pull their pants down. It can happen. Look, there's no excuse to lose, but mindset and psychology is a big thing out there. And if anyone's thinking they've got it won, or just if they're just unable to focus the same way because they're not coming up against Cleary, and they get ahead of themselves at any point, we're in shit. Because those kids will make you pay. Paul Almonte's not going to go out there and just fucking knock the ball on and play shit. He can catch a ball in the air, score a try. If they'll be able to, they'll have people competing for the ball everywhere. They'll be desperate, these guys. Like, you got to know that. And they got some boys that are hard to tackle. Like, I watched that side, that reserve grade side, beat our New South Wales Cup side 38-0 this year. And they weren't even full strength. And we were close to full strength. That's what sucked for us. Like, I thought that this was after we played the Panthers and should have beaten them. I thought our New South Wales Cup side and our Jersey Flag side were going to go out there and put on a clinic against the Panthers. And it was the complete opposite. They both got smashed. And I went, fuck. And I watched that game again. So go back and watch that game. If you've got Bar TV, go watch the New South Wales Cup, Penrith versus Canterbury, or in round 17 or 18 of the New South Wales Cup, and you'll see. It's not our first grade side though, but you know, Wilson, best winger in the club, was there. There was all these players that people say should be playing NRL, all in that side. They just absolutely dominated. So, yeah, this is scary to me. I don't want it to be, but part of me wanted to play that Penrith side and have our boys go out there and have an absolute battle against that team and see if they can win that game and get it done. But Ivan doesn't want that. He didn't want that for, he's like, nah, fuck him. We know what we can do. We've done it all. We've got the right. We've earned the right with who we are. We've come from last to get ourselves in this position. I'm not going to risk losing 2 in a row and not getting a home final for our fans. So fuck Canterbury. I'm going to give our whole team a rest, and I'm going to send out these boys with the expectation they've got to go there and win so we can get in the top 4. That's what he's saying. He's going to put the top 4 on those kids. You win, we make the top 4. You guys win, we then go there next week with, and we beat the Dragons. We make the top 4 and get two home finals potentially. Well, they won't get the first one, but they'll get the second one if they lose, or they get the prelim if they win. So it's there's a big carrot there, and he'll be holding them to account, expecting them to win. Not sitting there saying, "Oh, nearly enough's good enough." No fucking way. And Cameron Serrato would do the same with any team that runs out. I expect you to win and win well and follow the process. If you do that, we'll win. Worries me a lot that subconsciously we didn't turn up. Yeah, that's my problem. That's my worry, Joby. Round 17, we lost 36-6. Yeah, I don't even think we should have scored a try. I think we were lucky to get one. I thought it was 38-0, but yeah, 36-6, pretty close. Thank you, brother. Austin Diaz, named in the front row for the Panthers, is a former Bulldog. Yeah, I don't know much about Austin. But guys, I think I've talked a lot about that. I need to do me Buzz Rothfield live. Come and see Buzz and take it out on Buzz. He'll be doing a live. He'll be coming on here, and you just can come on and ask him questions and why he hates the Bulldogs, and he'll tell you. I've also got some messages from Buzz regarding different things. I've heard some stuff, some conversations he's had. So you might get them on YouTube as well at some point. See what he's got to say and to Braith. And I've heard he's trying to get Cameron across to the Sharks. And he's got this big conspiracy that Gus wants to actually bring Fitzgibbon to the Bulldogs to be with his son to get the next father-son thing happening. Now that we've got Fitzy's son, he wants to bring Fitzy over as well and get the Ivan Nathan thing going. But I think Buzzers are behind all that rumour. We'll see what rumours Buzz can start, hey? Thinking of doing some of that. Cool. Just got told the editor has emailed me back. Nice. So guys, basically the stuff around Stephen Crichton was ridiculous. To compare that with Harry Grant, ridiculous. Braith and Esther, again, I know Buzz pushed him on it, but this whole loser bias, every time we lose, they just go back and forth. And to read out stats, how about you read out the stats that he's number 2 in line engagements for a 20-year-old behind another great player in Isaiah Katoa? Why don't you read that out? Why don't you read out his support plays really high? And he's got quite a few repeat sets and all this sort of stuff. Like, there's none of that. It's just, the Dogs lost. They're 5-5 since he's been there, so they're not going better. No context. Just if you win, you're good. If you lose, you're shit. And that it's not how it works. And he knows that. He acts like that's what matters. And the journos all run with that because that's what sells. That's what engages fans to be outraged or to have some stuff that they can throw at people. But at the end of the day, it's just a big fucking reality show, really, which is why we should just don't click on their links. Don't click their links. I don't mind. Watch the NRL 360. I'll watch it. Watch the podcasts. Don't click their links. If you click their links, they will do it again and again and again. So what I do is just make my own articles and put them on our groups in response to their shit without clicking on their links. I'll find someone who has clicked on their link and got their story and then I'll look at it that way. You know, I laugh at these pages that steal these media stories and then post them as their own story and don't credit them or anything. I like that in a way, but they can actually still track that back for their media stuff, for their views. You know, they shouldn't be counting it because their advertisers aren't seeing it, but they do. They're fucking dogs. Sitting there paying thousands of dollars for advertising for your product or whatever, and trying to compete with these big companies as a little business or something, and they're telling you, you know, you're getting millions of impressions here and there and every fucking where. And that's because we click on their shit. My brother said Buzz used to be the guy. So I'll be looking forward to that interview you have with him, and can't believe he agreed to it. Look, he might sound a little bit different, if that makes sense. But we will have our way with Buzz and see what rumours he comes up with on Buzz 360, Buzz Rothfield from all angles. Just don't think this Penrith side has the players to beat our side. No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't win. There's no way they should win, but any team can beat any team, right? There's no way they should win. And I'm not saying that they should win. We should win. We should win easily. But they'll be expected to win. And they'll be going out there like they're going to beat us. They won't be preserving anything. Like they'll have nothing to lose at all. And that's sometimes difficult to overcome. Either way. So guys, thanks for the chat. It's been a pleasure. I've had a good time. It's good to see you all. I'm sorry for we lost a couple of people that come and watch the show all the time, because, you know, when we lose, they can't control their emotions and they want to fucking put people down and put kids down and, you know, hang shit on everyone. And naturally, I just hang shit on them and give it straight back, because I'm here to be with people who've at least got an understanding that you don't know everything, and you're open to listening to other ideas and take it or leave it. You know, that's it. And do it respectfully without hanging shit on players the best we can. And it's a much better place to be in. All I say is just put the shoe on the other foot. And if it was your kid and you had real skin in the game, and Lachlan Galvin was your son, you know, and this can start happening in the women's game too. They'll be like, oh, there's money to be made out of hanging shit on women. And being real, like, they're not critical of the girls at all, any of them, because no one seems to care enough. But that will happen eventually. They'll start being critical. I find in most women's sports, there's just no real criticism at all. And I like it. I do like it in a way. There's no shit, you know. A lot of the women's sports are the refs kept out of it too. Like, they don't talk about how shit the ref is. So annoying. It's like, why can't we have that? Netball, they don't talk about the ref ever. Basketball, hardly ever talk about the ref. It's all about the players. Anyway, I love it too. My actual prediction, 52-4. I love it. What's your score prediction, Mick? Bulldogs 49. Panthers 18. I don't like that score because I want us to get over 50. I've been wanting it for ages. And I'll be like, we'll get to fucking 49 or something. But we'll see. We'll see. Honestly, we win 22-12. We've qualified for the top 4. It doesn't fucking matter. And who cares what the haters say? Who cares what the haters say? No way the Panthers score 3 tries. Well, I hope not. Because I can tell you someone will be pissed off. But it could be just that they scrap 3 tries, you know. Like, we've scored 3 tries against them when we sucked. You know, you do a short kick-off and one player slips over, the ball bounces back into the player, run onto it, and they run and score. You can't get to them. They do an amazing play. They got some talent. Trust me. These kids aren't shit. Some of these kids are going to be in their system and be top and try scorer lists and whatever else. Like, they're not there yet. They're nowhere near ready yet, but some of them are ready. And some of them putting pressure on the ones up above them. And I'll tell you, if Penrith don't win the comp and they go out with some of the players in their team that they've got, you know, those players will be moved on and these ones will replace them. You know, the sort of fringe players in their side, they'll be like, nah, they couldn't get it done when we needed it. And they'll bring those kids through and get them to that level as quickly as they can. And we're doing the same thing. We're just not there yet. But we will be there. And that might be another 7 years away. Sorry to say it. I say these things so I live longer. Because I've got to stay awake for it. I've got to see it. I've got to see it happen. I want to see the dominant period of the Bulldogs, where we're just making grand finals, making prelims, having good seasons, being grateful for that. And, you know, getting a win here and there in a grand final would be lovely. Just to win another one would be lovely. And have that expectation that we're going to do well. And that confidence that we're going to do well would be lovely. But it's just been such a long time. Dogs 360, Dave says. 36-0. G'day, David. How are you, mate? Bulldogs 48 defeats Panthers 12. Let's go. Right, people. Great to see you all. Thanks again. Like, subscribe, join the channel if you want to help me out. I don't care. I'm not ashamed to say it anymore. You know, fucking people. There's people who do super likes and stuff. Go for it. But yeah. I've been a bit crook, so I'm a bit scattered, peeps. Get 17 tries. That'd be nice. Fuck yeah. All right. Yeah, I'd love to see that. What odds would you get on that? But honestly, don't start getting cocky. My son. But look, I Curtis Moore and Olipo, I think will replace Sam Hughes in the lineup. If there's any injury to Burton, we could see a bit of a shuffle. And a Turpin come in. If there's any injury to anyone else that they're touch and go with, any of those players are a chance of playing. But I expect to see more changes. What's this? Speaker view. Oh. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for joining, and I will see you all shortly. Go the Dogs.